Hello and welcome back to another CAD clip on Revit structure, and in this lesson we're talking about the Revit options, and I just wanted to start off from a blank screen here. Notice that in Revit, if you don't have a project open, then really you don't have any options. So I'm going to hit this button here, or you can hit a Control N, and basically starts a new project with what is the default Revit structure template, and we're going to learn how that works. So I'm just going to click on that new button, which we've seen in a lot of other software, not just Revit. Most applications have these first 3 or 4 buttons. So now I'm in a default Revit project, and of course it uses templates just like a lot of other Microsoft and Autodesk products uses. When you start up a new project or document or whatever, it has what is a template file that it uses, which kind of gives you a bit of a kickstart. So we're talking about the Revit options in this lesson. I'm going to go up to the top here. I'm going to pick on Settings, and then I'm going to pick the Options button down here, and you'll notice the ... which means it's going to open a dialog box. Inside of our Revit options, we've got 5 tabs that we can see, and we're just going to kind of go through these. Some kind of boring stuff, but sometimes, people give me questions and stuff, and I realize that, they don't really get the basics down. So under the General tab, first thing we have some notifications. Save and Reminder. You'll notice that Reminder comes up, and I'll even get it here and there on this in these videos where it says, saving. So save reminder intervals every 30 minutes, and again you have your options to click on that. Save to central when you're using work sets. Reminder again every 30 minutes, whatever you want. Tooltip assistance. Do you want normal? Do you want to have no tooltips? If you find them annoying, you become an expert. Minimal, normal, and high, meaning you can just test these out. So I'm just going to leave that at normal. The username, Daryl Gregoire, and this comes in when we start to use work sets, etc. It uses your username from Windows, so that you can change, and if you want to experiment with work sets and become different users, then you can change that in there. Journal file, which kind of keeps track of what's going on. When number of journal exceeds 10 or whatever, then delete the journal. So sometimes when errors are going on, or there's a journal that takes place as you work through different projects, and then so you can have that file cleanup of your Revit journal. So very basic general stuff. Then we go to our Graphics tab. This one here, which is the video card capabilities, is kind of a trial and error thing, and Revit actually recommends right here within this is that to try this out, and it's a matter of what video card you have, video card, or whether you want it to be hardware acceleration or not in OpenGL. So they suggest that you click on here and try it, and as you try out these different options, you have to open and close the project again, because it doesn't take place, the changes during the actual editing session. So as you try out these different video card options for performance with rendering, etc., is to open and close your project. Colors, invert colors. If I click on here and I hit apply, it basically inverts the background color, and it'll turn this background color over here where we edit to be black. So if you're a traditional AutoCAD person, you might want to switch that over. It's up to you. So that switches your background from black to white, and then when you select color, you can pick the color that you want to do with selection, and your alert color that comes up when things get highlighted and there's a problem, it'll highlight it in this color, and if that color isn't good for you, you can go in and pick a different color inside of here. So you will occasionally get some alert dialog boxes, and these are just the colors that it uses, and when you select something, you'll notice I'll select something, it'll turn red. Well, if red doesn't work for you and you want to use a different color, and that may depend on whether you invert your background or not, again, just color preferences, very basic stuff. Then we get to some of this is the good stuff. File locations, default template file, which means that when I pick this button here and I say new project, or I go file new project, we'll see this is the file it uses. It uses a structural analysis default, and this is where it's located inside of here. Documents and settings, all users, application data, Autodesk, Revit Structure 4, Imperial templates. Okay, and inside of there it uses this one. We can also use this type of template, and we also have some other templates here which are different because they don't pick up RTE, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So when you started project a default file. If you create your own template file, then you can then save that and browse to wherever it happens to be. It could be on your server, it could be anywhere. And generally, we do develop our own template files, project template file. We build on this one, okay, and we'll learn that, how you can develop your own template files, okay, and then save those and then use that. As you get better and better at Revit, eventually you have this really great template file, and that is a key point not to be underestimated. As you work through, you develop your template file, you build on it, and then it saves you from doing a lot of setup. If the first thing you have to do when you start a new project is, go in and make a bunch of changes, well then chances are you need to take those changes and save that as a template file and then direct it to here and then select that as your default, and you don't have to make those changes anymore. Default path for user files. When I go File, Open in my Revit, this is the place it's going to go to. A lot of times My Documents is not the place you want it to go to. So we hit Browse on here, and then we go and pick on a folder under 0 projects or something like that, and we pick that as our default path. And then once I go File, Open, and if I don't, the first place it's going to go is this location, okay? If I go File, Open, and then I pick, browse to somewhere else, it will then go to that. So this is when you first start your Revit, okay? This is the first place it'll go to. And then after, if you browse to somewhere else, the next time you go File, Open, it will then go to that one. So it kind of it learns from the last open. So the first place it goes is here, and then if you go somewhere else, then the next time you go File, Open, or Save, it'll go to that location that you last went to. Okay, so user files. Default path for family template. When you go File, and I'm just going to click in there and go to the end. Okay, when you go New Family, okay, this is where it's going to go for those template files. Under Browse, okay, under Documents and Settings, All Users, Application Data, Revit for Structure, Imperial Templates. And that's because I set Imperial as my default when I installed my Revit, and that's why it's going to Imperial. If you're using Metric, you're going to go back up one step here, and you're going to click Metric Library, and then save that, hit OK, and then that will be the default for families. And we'll do some lessons on families as well. So these are file locations. Then we have our library locations: Imperial, Metric, Imperial, Detail, Training Files, and I can go add a new one in here, and I can say, okay, I'm going to create my own, under My Documents, under my DG-CAD, I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to add that as a library, and I'm going to call this, CAD Clips Library. Okay, we'll see how that shows up later on when we go File, Open. So libraries, okay, and then we can take these and order them and sort them by clicking these up. I'm going to take that and move it to the top. I can hit delete, I can make another one. This is going to be on our favorites. Basically, these libraries become like your favorites. Okay, so this is all making things easier on your day-to-day working with Revit, and where files are found and how you get them. And you're going to create your own library of Revit families and stuff. Well, this is the folder you're going to, if I click on here, this is where I'm going to take that, and I might even have another one called, Revit Files down in here. Maybe that's even better. Okay, now if I click on here and I go to the end, and that's saved as my CAD clips, and I'll show you the end of that. So that's really neat. Everyone should do this. Spelling, pretty straightforward. Just some general settings on, what it will accept and ignore and things like that. Have a look through that. Ignore words in uppercase, etc. Restore defaults if you want to restore the defaults. Main dictionary, we can use a Microsoft dictionary, okay, English or UK, and we can use an Autodesk word dictionary for spell checking. Okay, we can click on here and use a UK or a US. Okay. And then additional dictionaries is when you go in and add words yourself and stuff like that. So personal dictionary contains words added during spell check. So if I click on here, okay, and I hit edit, you'll see there's really nothing in there, and I can actually just start to add my own words in here. It's just a notepad file. That's all that is. Okay, so it's a .dic dictionary file. I can cut and paste ahead of time and paste all the words I want to be accepted in my spell checker right there, and then and then when I look at this, then that's where that file is going to be saved. Then we have the building industry dictionary. This is one that appends, these both append this dictionary, and if I hit edit, you can see it's already got a bunch of words in there. Okay, typical, Autodesk is in there, call out, some abbreviation. So this is industry kind of CAD techie words that it's saying that, and if you don't like them, you can delete them or do whatever you want. So these are just appending the dictionary. That's all that is. So you can either go in here and make changes, or you can add to it or do whatever you want by clicking on here. Okay, and that's where it's pathed as well. Okay, I wonder if we go File, Save As, if it's going to show us where it is. Yes, it is. So there's where's the file, Program Files, Structure, under Program. And then it's a dot, we want to change it to be .dic. Okay, so just dictionary files, very easy stuff. There's your main dictionary. These append the dictionary, all to do with your spell checking. We have some rendering settings. AccuRender is the rendering engine, and there's some AccuRender stuff that gets installed depending on how you install your Revit. And then inside of here, again, just a folder location where your AccuRender resources are coming from. Okay, limit rendering to a single processor. Well, if you've got a dual processor, regardless, you know, you may want to just, depending on how you're set up and what you're doing during Revit, whether you want to limit it to one processor or not. Additional rendering material dictionaries or directories, sorry. And again, same type of thing. We can go and we can add a new location for that as well. Okay, for directories for rendering materials. Okay, so rendering information, spell checking, file locations, probably the most important one here. Graphics, just some fun stuff to play with and try this stuff out. General information, again. So then we say OK to that. Now watch what happens. If I go File, Open, first of all, it's going to the last place actually that I browse, which is interesting, in Revit. Okay, so then we've got that. But the thing is, over here, look at the top, we've got my CAD clips. CAD clips, I click on there, and guess what? It goes to that exact folder. Okay, so that's my library that I've got in there. Okay, and then although I can take this and I can move this down to here, okay, the next time I go in, it's going to follow what was the settings inside of here. There's my CAD clips. If I take that and move it down 2 notches and hit OK, now when I go File and I go Open, okay, it's going to go to the last place I browse. Look at my CAD clips is moved down to here. We can click on here, etc. So these are really nice. I encourage everyone to kind of set that stuff up. Okay, settings, go back. Maybe we're going to go to graphics, invert our colors, and change my selection to be, you know, blue. Hit OK, hit OK. Now my background is black. If I go in and draw a beam, hit Escape, change my detail level to fine, hit Escape, zoom in. If I click on that beam, it turns blue instead of turning red. Not a big deal. If I go to my 3D view, I pick on it, it turns blue. Okay, just a few things that we use in our options to get our Revit set up, and then we can start to move on to some fun modeling stuff.